Hey, Dr.
Hi, Monica.
Matt.
So great to
I'm,
see your beautiful face.
oh,
So
thank
long.
you. Your beautiful
Mhm.
face. Seriously. I mean, you look the same from, when I met you when you were my professor at Clark Atlanta University.
No, you don't see me close up. That's all. No,
Mm-mm, mm-mm, it's still there. And I was gonna ask you to wear a Clark Atlanta shirt, but I forgot, but you got the colors on.
I have the colors on. Oh, we didn't even coordinate that.
We didn't. It was meant to happen because we're in sync. We are Panthers. And
Yeah.
so I asked you to come talk with me today because it's one Black History Month. And it kind of didn't even start off that way. I was just like, I was thinking about you and I was like, Dr. Mack, and I text you all the time and I sometimes even want you to know like how much you've impacted my life and other people's lives, and that I still think about you and I still think of you as a mentor. And so, as we're in Black History Month, Black History 24/7, 365, but as we're in Black History Month, I wanted to take the time to highlight you and highlight representation and how important representation is. But we're also going to talk a little bit about our political climate, specifically how it's impacted not only the Black community, but people of color and just people in general. So, kind of the increase of anxiety and depressive symptoms that we've seen in the mental health space. So, um, before we get into that, I do want to talk first about how I know you. And so, if it's not clear already, I know you because you were my professor at Clark Atlanta University. And so, I was a psychology major. Dr. Mack was one of our professors in the psychology department. And if I remember correctly, you taught statistics and
Mhm.
was it general psychology?
General psych, history and systems of psychology, and what else? First year seminar,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes a little bit of everything else from human growth and development, every once in a while, things like that.
All the things. So you basically taught the whole department everything. And so I remember statistics specifically because, first of all, you have to be super duper smart to teach that class. And I just like, I'm not a math person, never have been, but you were so gentle in how you taught that class. And so I remember even having conversations with you about my struggle with statistics, even going like as an adult.
Mhm.
I came to you about somebody else who needed help with statistics, and you were like, I tutor. And so you helped that person, but I remember too, like having to wrap my head around it's more of a mindset that you already think you're terrible at math. So that's why you're terrible at math. And so I'm grateful for you having been the person to teach that class because I made it through because of you. And I'm here today in this field, I would say, because of your representation and your approach to teaching. Everything in that psychology department. So, thank you. I haven't said that yet, but that's what I'm getting to is thank you for being that person for us. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for going as far as you have in the field so that other people can see that they can do it too. We have a lot of doctors that were in my class because they saw you were a doctor. And so
Mhm.
to this day, even though you're my friend now, I'm not calling
Mhm.
you anything other than Dr. Mack because put some respect on it.
Okay. Okay. I won't fight it. I'm always telling people, just call me Vicky, but okay.
And I have never, and I won't
Mhm.
because that's I just respectfully you have your doctorate and you earned it and you were so young, first of all. It was like we were going to school with a peer. You were young and you were like this beautiful, I'm gonna gas you up today. You were beautiful, like had this flowing hair or fly, like, and we would see you be social too. So it was like we see this young doctor and we can be that. And so
Mhm.
it's just so powerful what representation has done. And a lot of times, especially during Black History Month, we focus on people in history that have passed away. We focus on and not to take away from that because they've done amazing jobs at kind of leading us to where we are. But there's still people that are alive. There are people that are young like yourself, that have made just as much of an impact in our lives and in Black history, that we need to celebrate you now. So I'm happy to do that today for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I will tell you, stats was not my thing. I did not want to teach that class
You
because
didn't,
I
okay.
struggled myself in grad school with that course. And I think, well, I don't think anybody wanted to teach it when I got there. So I was like, okay, so teachers stats one and two. But I taught it from the same well, with empathy,
Hmm.
understanding how hard it was for me. I just didn't want to stress the students
Yeah.
out at all. So I tried to make it as easy as possible to understand, which is, really hard with statistics sometimes. And even I even say I'm
Hmm.
not a math person. I
Hmm.
still to this day, but I wanted you all
Lies,
to
lies.
get to the point where you can at least understand what's
Hmm.
involved so that when you get to graduate school, you
Yeah,
can get your research done.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. You were
Mhm.
preparing us,
Right.
which you have. You
Mhm.
you have done it. You have done the job. Well done, good and faithful servant.
Thank
But
you.
again, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I was thinking I was going to try to surprise you with other peers of mine that are in the field and still in the field and have them come on the Zoom. But it was like we literally planned this within what, a week ago or
Mhm.
something like that.
Right.
So I was like, I don't want to like disrupt anybody's schedule. So we're it's just you and I today. But when I say that there are many of us, and some of us you still stay in touch with, that are very grateful for our experience with you and our experience at Clark. Yeah. So
Love that.
as we're talking, huh?
I said I love that. My
Yes,
people, my tribe, they out there. They all over the world doing great things. I love
we
that.
are. We are. It's you have had a ripple effect. And so and not just women. There was a small number of Black males in our in my graduate class or graduating class, but they've even made an impact in this field and are still doing that. So, representation doesn't have to be a certain age and elder, or doesn't have to be a certain gender. It's
Mhm.
just you being you and what you've exposed us to and what sharing your experience and that means everything. So, um, since we're talking about representation and I've shared how it's impacted me, how has representation impacted you in the work that you do and even in your life?
Well, first going to Clark, at HBCU
Hmm.
to see, first coming to Atlanta to see so many beautiful
Hmm.
people, especially Black people doing great things. And then when I got to Clark, I just felt so cared for, and I felt so impressed by the people, the instructors I met, the instructors we had, and everybody was. I mean, every single instructor I had was an advocate,
Hmm.
and they represented me. They
Yeah.
represented African Americans. We in our department, our whole department was almost well, we only had one non-African American, to be honest,
Yeah.
during that time when I was a student.
Mhm.
So it was just amazing, and everybody was knowledgeable, kind, and an advocate, 100% an advocate for all the students. So that really influenced me to just get there, and when I got
Mhm.
there, to take off
Yeah.
and keep going forward.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you did that. You took off and didn't stop, and still not stopping. We've had conversations about, and I'm not going to share like what I'm pursuing just yet, but and
Mhm.
what you're pursuing. We've talked about the things that we've um been experiencing as far as like ideas and dreams even, and so you're still going.
Mhm.
So you went to Clark and you had representation there. Was there somebody in particular? And I know who it is, but you tell the people that was representation for you and also was representation for me because she was still a professor when I came.
Right. So we had Dr. Plummer.
Hmm.
She was actually fairly young too, a fairly young professor when
Hmm.
I started there. And also, my sophomore, no, junior year, I started taking classes at Morehouse too.
Hmm.
And there was Dr. Clark. Her name was Dr. Vanessa Clark, and
Hmm.
she was a there was a program, a research program for undergraduate students in AUC,
Hmm.
and I worked in her lab. She had a small psych lab over in the psych department. So both
Okay.
of those ladies had a positive impact on me. And their personalities were totally different. Dr. Clark
Mm.
was snappy. Hope she's not out there. But and she was, she was sharp and she was young and she did not play. And
Hmm.
Dr. Plummer was smart, young, but also very, very, she's an Aquarius. So she was like
Okay.
me, I'm an
Uh-huh.
Aquarius. So we
Uh-huh.
both vibe,
Uh-huh.
everybody vibe, Dr. Plummer, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a kind, sweet person, both of them. They just had totally different personalities and they both had a positive impact. They both had
Yeah.
positive impacts on me. Mhm.
That's amazing. Did Dr. Plummer go to Clark too?
No, she went to Morris Brown.
Oh, she
No,
did. Okay.
I think she went to Morris Brown. Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
we kept it in the AUC. So she went to Morris Brown, came and taught at Clark. You went to
Mhm.
Clark, came back and taught at Clark. Then I
Right,
went to Clark. Now I'm not at Clark right now, but we don't know what the future holds. Um,
right,
but you just see how y'all just circled back and gave back and
right.
impacted the next generation of, and
Mhm.
honestly, I mean, you're in our generation, so not really, but you impacted,
Mhm.
we like the same age, but
Mhm.
you came back and you impacted people to go out and do stuff in the field. And it's so broad that there's like so much that we can do in the field. I didn't really catch on to that until later in life.
Mhm.
I thought, okay, I'm just going to be a clinician and that's it. There's like so much more to do.
Right.
So, again, on that note, we're going to end, but I'm going to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you've done for all of us. Um, so the other part of our conversation is about the political climate and how it's impacted communities and people and individuals. Is in regards to their mental health. So for me, in practice, I've seen clients at the start of the year, you know how people go and they get their gym membership in January and they're like, I'm about to work out and I'm about to lose this weight. I've seen people come and start therapy at the beginning of the year of this year, 2025. They're like,
Mhm.
I'm getting my mind right. I love it. I love to see it. Um, and I think that was the intention, was to focus on what was going on in their lives or what they wanted to see come to fruition in their lives. That's what brought them to therapy initially in January. But when Trump was inaugurated, there was a shift that happened. Um, the focus went from their primary concerns being about um, career or family relationships to I'm having extreme anxiety, panic attacks, depression or it's increased because of who our president is. And so,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, it's like as a therapist, you're like, well, I mean, I have the same concerns. How do we address this?
Right,
Um,
right,
but it's about, the living in the reality, but also managing those symptoms to be able to get through that reality. And so I've learned a lot, some from you in our conversations. One thing that I took back to my clients from a workshop that I took was around conversations regarding hope. And so talking about what can we be hopeful for even in the midst of all of this craziness? Where can
right,
you find anything to look forward to? Where can you be grateful? And being able to see that little bit of light is how you continue, how you push forward. And so I've taken that back to my clients, and not me telling them this is what you should hope for, this is what you should hope in, but what is it that you specifically can hope for and hope in. And so we have that conversation, and that just kind of gets their minds going to think about things they can be grateful for or look forward to. There was something else that you told me about that you've implemented in your own life that I want you to share about how it's kind of helped with coping in our current climate.
Well, first let me say that after our that first conversation, one thing I said that was helping me was to get active and get involved with an organization that's trying to mobilize people.
Hmm.
But I have to be honest, I had a hard time last week. I broke down at work twice. I mean, um, it was horrible. I was having full on, and I'm not a panic attack, anxiety type person,
Hmm.
but I had this pit in my stomach, and it felt like the weight of the world was in my chest. And my supervisors, they're the sweetest, most kind, compassionate people, and they don't know this, but just listening to me
Hmm.
helped a lot. But just talking first, because what
Hmm.
I was spiraling, well, I'll say this, I was spiraling.
Hmm.
I was like, in the toilet drain going down last week.
Okay.
Um, I had to take time off, and my anxiety was so crazy that I had a headache, I was nauseous, and the issue was I didn't, I was thinking the most
Hmm.
extreme things were about to happen in in days, not months. And I also was trying to tell people that.
Yeah.
And then I started getting more anxious because I'm like, they think I'm crazy. I'm trying to tell them this ship is sinking, this is the end, the world's coming to the end. Do y'all know this? And and then people were like, yeah. I'm like, get your stuff together.
Hmm.
Stop playing some fools. Get,
Yeah.
you gotta stop with a motivation plan. Because you saw that movie Leave the World Behind? I
I
was
heard of it.
planning for that. Okay, so Leave the World Behind came out last year. Barack and Michelle Obama produced that movie.
Uh-huh.
And what's happening? Planes fall out the sky, all kinds of mess. All the Teslas crashing, and and a foreign enemy had attacked the US, and they used satellite systems
Hmm.
to cut off all contact so people didn't know what was going on. And so
Hmm.
I was like, any rashes? Some salt. I'm trying to tell everybody,
Yeah.
and they're like, I know, like, I think they think I'm crazy. But I'm trying to tell them, didn't y'all see the movie? This is the end. But
Hmm.
the anxiety was me bouncing this off of my family, and I'm thinking they think I'm crazy, And I'm like, stop saying it, Vicki. But they're like, yeah, yeah, this all makes. And so I start getting even more anxious because
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk about it too much because I
Hmm.
would talk to a relative, and one of my relatives was like, okay, but oh, I'm thinking about a trip in the back of my head. I still travel.
I'm losing your sound a little bit sometimes in there.
Oh, really?
Okay, now I
Okay.
can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, there's no place to hide, and we're
Yeah.
not prepared for
Hmm.
Armageddon, basically.
Yeah.
So just telling the anxiety was building up. I finally talked to my supervisors, and I had to take some time off, and I took a nap.
That's it.
But
Yes.
before that nap, I was like, you got to get this under control. You are having a heart attack. You're having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And so I laid there. I tried to get control of my breathing and my
Hmm.
and my
Hmm.
pulse and my heartbeat. And then I just took a nap. And then I woke up, no.
Hmm.
And that was that helped, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I guess the main thing was that helped me was actually talking to a
Yeah.
supervisors, which was are they're younger and they're
Hmm.
not therapists, but was just me being able to say, I am struggling and I think
Hmm.
the worst is about to happen and
Hmm.
nobody's getting it but me.
Hmm.
And yeah, I understand, you know. I'm like, they don't understand, but I got it out. And
Yeah.
then I start talking to my siblings and explaining to them because they're like, "What are you really worried about?" Because they thought it was about me worried about my job. I was like, "I'm
Mhm.
not worried about the job.
Yeah.
It's not the job. It's Armageddon, you know, or the apocalypse, you know."
Yeah.
And I said, the job is not. And so once they all understood, I was like, I am worried about the apocalypse, the destruction of this country and the world,
Mhm.
and it's going to be horrible, and nobody's prepared. And they were like, well, let's get prepared. And so I was like, okay, so that helped
They
too.
joined in.
And they don't believe it. They were like, let's get some stuff. Let's
Yeah.
do. Let's go
Yeah.
to Costco. get
That's
some
right.
get some canned goods and things and stuff. So anyway, that helped for people to be understanding,
Mhm.
for me to feel free to
Yeah.
conversate about it, to
Yeah.
discuss it. And
Mhm.
then I talked to a counselor on Friday. I actually
Okay.
talked to our EAP counselor. She was cool,
Uh,
really, she was great actually. She
yeah.
just gave me some calming down exercises,
Mhm.
using, pressure on my
Grounding.
vagus
Yeah.
nerve, tapping,
Yeah.
calming mantras,
Hmm.
and that was very helpful too. Was it controlling my breathing? Because you got to control, only thing you can control is what's going on in here.
Yeah.
You can't control what's going on out there, for the most part, in the bigger sense of the world. But you have to control what goes on in here because you will get sick. And now
Yeah.
it's like, I do not want to make myself sick.
Yeah.
And that was the most important thing for me to get control of.
Yeah.
And so I'm getting back to what I was doing before. I walk, pick up trash in the neighborhood. That helps me to
Oh,
calm down. I listen
yeah.
to music all the time. I hadn't been listening to music. I realized that
Mhm.
I have been doom scrolling, I was looking for something
Yeah.
positive on the internet, or on news, something that'll say this doom and gloom that I'm feeling is
Yeah.
not about to happen. So
Yeah.
I just had to shut that down, play some music, and focus on controlling my anxiety so I can, not feel all this pressure, and make myself
Mhm.
sick. I don't want to get sick. So that's what
Yeah.
I've been doing.
I heard a lot in what you just said. I heard one, we talked about getting active. You found some things where you can get active in the community and do something. I heard that you got validated
Mm-hmm.
by your supervisor and your coworkers. So they listened and they validated your feelings, but also like they were on board. Like, okay, what are we going to do about this? Let's go to Costco. Let's get some stuff. They helped you to plan, which was part of the validation. Like what do we need to do to help you to feel not more comfortable, but to manage these symptoms a little bit better so that you can feel like you're doing something, again, movement, action.
Right.
um, and then you talked about some of the grounding techniques that you've used: touch, feeling, hearing, sensing, and all of those
Mhm.
things kind of bring you back to the present. So it sounds like you have like a really good toolbox. And we don't always like recognize or even remember we have those things sometimes,
Right.
especially when we're in an active panic attack or
Mhm.
depressive state, but they are there. Not everybody has that support system that you described to go talk to and validate, but there are therapists. That is a strategy. There's counselors, therapists, all the same. But two, thank you for naming the symptoms that you described as far as the panic attack and the anxiety, because I think anybody who's listening to this who has experienced those symptoms might now be able to say, oh, that's what happened. That's what I was
Right.
experiencing.
Mhm.
Because they may not have been aware that that was a thing. They probably did think they were having a heart attack, but
Right.
no signs pointed to a heart attack. It was that you were anxious and that you were having a panic attack, possibly. So, um, thank you for being vulnerable enough to share your experience. I think sometimes in this field, we don't always feel safe to talk about our own stuff.
Mhm.
And so with you being in the mental health field and saying, "Hey, I'm struggling with this too. This is what helps me." I think that will help people to feel relatable or feel that you are relatable. Um, and then they can try those things that you're saying that you've used.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, this has been, I mean, this really just made my whole week. I was excited about this since we decided to do it, and I'm excited for people to get to hear what representation means and also what you can do, experiencing anxiety and depressive symptoms in this political climate. Think about hope, think about gratitude, grounding techniques, talk to somebody, all those things, therapy. So I think that we touched on a lot, and I hope that even if there's one person listening, that it's helpful.
Yes, me too. Yeah. And I will say there was there was so much hope with again talking to my family, my brothers, my
Hmm.
sister, my mom, my good friends from I look from graduate school. She's at CBC,
Hmm.
and another friend we had a conference call, and our other friends from graduate school, and everybody is anxious and worried,
Yeah.
but just being able to talk to everybody, everybody's
Hmm.
being open, and my brother, my twin brother, just called. He was like, "Don't you worry, I got you." He's so sweet.
That is sweet.
Just things like that. That's helpful, you know. So
Yeah.
to your people. Yeah.
Yes. Please do. Don't be dismissive. Validate and help them plan, even if you don't believe in what they're saying. Just
Right.
help them plan because it could happen,
Yeah.
and then you'll be looking crazy over there. So,
Exactly. Hmm.
yes,
Right.
we really do need to support each other, especially in these crazy, crazy times. So, um, again, thank you. We'll be in touch and we'll keep talking.
Yes. Yes.
And maybe
All
we'll even
right.
have more to bring to a Zoom one day to Mental Wealth Works.
Bye, Monica.
Bye.